Okay, so joining us now on ABN Cast, he's fresh off stage on the ancillaries track, is Jay Sorensen, who's president of the IdeaWorks company. So you've been writing about tracking ancillaries for many, many years.
IdeaWorks has been around since 1996.
That long, okay.
Yeah.
So what you don't know about ancillaries isn't worth knowing, I should think. What you come off stage talking about various myths in the industry related to ancillaries.
Well,
what are the key trends that you're seeing?
Well, it's interesting to talk about myths because right now AI is obviously a big topic at this conference, and there's another side to AI, and that is people who are consumers who are not tech savvy. And I think I caution the industry against removing human staffing, either it's in call centers or at the airport, because there's a good chunk of consumers who are not tech savvy. And so when you present them with the kiosk, they have no idea what to do. And so I advocate for a greater sense of empathy for folks who, are buying tickets. Perhaps they're being bought for them by someone, and they're ending up at the airport, and they just don't know how to deal with the technology.
Yeah.
And so I think empathy requires us as humans to have solutions in place for people like that.
Do you think that's a generational thing which will work through, or it'll always be the case?
It's not a general. I mean, obviously, it's heightened. As for older consumers, I think there's a greater percentage. But there are, if you look across any demographic, in terms of, and it probably is more tied to income. Lower income people might be less tech savvy, but they are there, and it's not something that's like, oh, it's just older consumers. It is younger consumers as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you see with technology that's adopted at scale is it tends to be the stuff that is very easy to use. So you don't need to be tech savvy, for instance, to use an iPhone. It's very intuitive.
Well, I would somewhat push against that. I mean, when I travel, I watch what happens at the airport, because it helps me as a consultant to the airline industry to see how airlines are processing customers, especially low-cost carriers. And I recall being in Reno Airport, and I was watching this middle-aged couple walk up to a kiosk, and they were completely baffled by what they were supposed to do. And I was saddened by that, because here you have people who have probably spent a good portion of their income to buy tickets, and at the very first step, they were unable to do what was required.
Yeah. And do you think that puts people off travel? I mean, the experience is good. They will travel more.
You need to have an element that's available for those types of consumers, that where self-service is not going to work, you need to have a human intervention at some point. And that's what's often missing. So
when it comes to ancillaries, obviously airlines have become more and more reliant on the ancillary revenue.
Correct.
And they've been creating more opportunities and more products around the ancillaries. So where is things now? You've been tracking sort of the rise of this, and some airlines have really almost perfected the art of making revenue out of ancillaries. Well, where is it developing now? What's going on?
I have been advising my clients of probably for the last couple of years. There's always a question that I hate being asked is, what's new?
Yeah.
And I could care less what's new. I want to focus on what is tried and true. And so, the areas that airlines should focus on are bags, seat assignments, and branded fares. If you can master that, you're going to achieve 90% of the potential for ancillary revenue that any airline has.
Yeah.
And so there's oftentimes, this bright, shiny object thing where, airlines want to have as a laundry list of items for them to offer to consumers. Complexity is not always good for revenue.
No. Okay. So keep it simple is what you're saying.
Keep it simple. Focus on the big stuff.
Yeah. Before we started this chat, you were telling me about obviously what's going on around regulation, and particularly in Europe with the court ruling and about bags.
When airlines behave badly, they invite regulation.
Of course. Yeah.
And that unfortunately happens too often in our industry. And so, we have this case in Spain with Ryanair, in which, a Spanish court, has said, bag fees should be part of the fare. They should not be something that you can charge extra for.
Yeah.
And, I'm a believer in, that if you begin to dictate to an airline what they can and cannot do in terms of pricing, you're going to have the unintended consequence of making two things. Two things will happen from that. One, travel will become more expensive. And secondly, the low-cost carrier category will be harmed by that, and that's not going to help the European consumer.
Yeah. So when you said this stemmed from behaving badly, without sort of naming names, but what does behaving badly look like in an ancillary revenue?
I think it's, I think there's two sins.
Yeah.
One is disclosure, that when you are in the booking path, you are fully aware of what you're buying and what it costs. That's one sin that occurs in terms of where airlines are not transparent. I think the bigger one that is that has always surprised me why it's a problem, and that is refundability. If you buy something like bags or a seat assignment and you no longer need it, or you have changed, or worse yet, if the airline has had a schedule change and they force a change upon you, and they don't refund this if it's no longer provided, it's absurd. And so this is an area where, regulators, it's abusive. And so at some point, these airlines are just inviting, and this is not individual airlines, it's the industry as a whole has this problem.
Yeah. But bags remain but in general, bags remain one of the greatest stress points for the airline customer. Whether fear of losing them, or but it's a really difficult area.
Thanks for pointing out the other part of my talk today was, baggage policies. The solution for baggage policies is not to put in larger bins on airplanes. That's just going to invite more carry-on. And so right now we have this situation in which all of us have experienced this, and that is, you're at the gate and there's this announcement that's made. Ladies and gentlemen, today's flight is very full, and so we're going to accept carry-on bags free of charge. Well, so what you've just announced is you are a stupid person if you have paid for your bag, because you should just bring it to the gate and it might be let on for free. And so that's a policy that is, I think that also contributes to, regulators saying, what's going on here? And so,
consumers are pretty clever. I mean, they will react to this, won't they? They will game the system as much as they can.
And so I think, weirdly enough, the solution here is to charge for carry-ons. And by the way, this is another area where as an industry, we fall down, and that is carry-on bags is a bad phrase. We should have one of two phrases. And one phrase is underseat bag, and the other phrase is overhead. If it's underseat, it's free of charge. If it's an overhead, it's not. It's something you pay for.
We're nearly halfway through-ish the second day of this particular event. This summit, we're talking a lot about AI and agentic and the rise of AI. What's your view of this technology? How is it going to change things?
I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to instead reference something that I found amazing yesterday. And that is, there was the presentation in which they talked about the percentage of revenue that Expedia and Booking.com spend on advertising. And it was like, were you there for that?
Yes, I was. Yes.
And it was like 30 to 40% of their revenue. I found that astounding.
Well, that's just on Google, wasn't it?
Right. Well, most of the bulk of probably 90% of it is on Google. But what I found astounding by that is that what it says is that they have to spend money to get their customers to come back, because their customers don't come back unless organically. And so that was a big aha moment for me, where it's like, for whatever reason, they don't have loyalty. And so, that is a broken system somehow, where in order for you to get a customer come back, you have to re-educate them, a good chunk of them every time. I found that amazing.
And does AI have an impact on that, do you think? I mean, does AI give airlines a chance to drive the loyalty that everybody's seeking?
Well, AI, there's this big discussion that has really not been resolved yet, and only the next 3 years are going to tell. And that is this agent, as a consumer, who is going to be your agent to do your bidding, to book your space? And that answer is horribly, it's not answered yet. And so it's either going to be someone like, a existing search engine like Google or some other type of, or something that's not yet here. And I think what's not yet here, I think is going to be somehow tied to credit card companies. I think that they are a very natural candidate to create AI engines to help their cardholders book travel and to buy all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. The scenario I mentioned yesterday was you ask an agent to go and do something for you, shop
Right.
for you. You go to bed in the middle of the night, it finds it.
Right.
It does the transaction. You wake up and it's done.
And, there's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of aha and wow, isn't this cool and gee whiz. And in my experience, the hype is always far greater than the reality. And so there's a lot of that here because if you're going to book a cottage on Airbnb or Vrbo, it's a complicated process that I'm not ready to release to some type of bot to do for me because there's so many ingredients to finding the right place to stay that it's just not a very easy transaction yet to do through automation.
And to go back to where you started, keep it simple for people because they're not necessarily that tech savvy anyway. So it's
well, I mean, no, the vast majority of people are tech savvy.
Yeah.
My argument was there's a chunk of people who are not. Well, let's not screw them over.
Yeah. Joe, thanks very much for that. Good to
You're
see
welcome.
You. Yeah, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so ABN Cast is on the road again this week. This week we're in Dublin for the ATPS mega event, which means it's mega. And my guest now is Paul Kevin O'Shaughnessy, and he's just kicked things off with the opening keynote. Spoke for 45 minutes, all about AI really, and all about where the future is and where he thinks things are going. Kevin, you're from a company called CityHook. Tell us what CityHook does initially.
So CityHook started its life as a ground transport aggregator.
Yep.
We're now a technology stack for people that want to distribute faster.
Okay.
So when we were building for airlines, we had to get things out at advertising speed. So all our ground transport on great fast rails. But we're working on something new.
Okay.
There'll be agents involved, and we'll get to that in a second. But watch this space for our next big thing.
Fine. So like I said, you just spent the last 45 minutes introducing this week's event, giving a very kind of broad overview of where we are in the AI ecosystem. If I'm an airline in the room, there's a few airlines in the room, and I'm sitting there thinking, what do I do at the moment? What do I take out of that room in terms of like what we should do today? I think you can either be very scared of what's going on because you don't really understand it and you think it's very complicated and very risky, or you can be sort of enthused by it and want to go in two-footed. What do I do? If I'm an airline today, do I take the risk and get into this area, or do I sort of sit back and watch it evolve?
Look, I think innovation can happen from good observation as well. You don't have to be the one that acts. You can be the one that just listens well and waits for the right time. Where we are with AI and agents is, and just for clarity, I'm not here as some AI bro.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell AI in any way. I always love talking about technology. The three things that we could bring back to our CTOs, our head of product, try and inform our strategy and frame the topic for the event, which is going to be around agentic commerce, e-commerce here at this conference. So my arguments were that we look at agents until now as this thing that's set somewhere in the stack.
Yeah.
We might have put a chatbot somewhere on our website. We might have made it an easier way to get into what we were trying to book. Why go through from to date that origin destination pair for airfare search or some other way of finding the right hotel for yourself? There's got to be these ways in, and there used to be a chatbot way in too. What agentic means is that we now have new ways of working together.
Yeah.
And up until this year, it was a way of, Lee had a great technology product that I wanted to bring into my stack. We could have brought it in through an API, an SDK, or now we could have gone through an MCP service. New ways of integrating are there that are easier to work with, more modular to work.
MCP stands for?
Oh, don't start. Model Control Protocol.
Okay.
But it's a way of
What is that?
exposing technology inside an agentic framework. So you got this system that you're trying to expose to a user or to another system.
Yep.
MCP lets you tell part of your solution, this is what I want you to go for over here. This thing here, that's the block I want you to use it for. And it describes the capabilities of that tool, those tools within the agentic system.
So agentic, in that sense, it should allow collaboration to happen more seamlessly than maybe in the past.
It's a different way of doing collaboration. It might make more sense now if you're engaging with a partner to try and think of an integration through MCP.
Yeah.
We would have done it in the past. I call this the Airfix model. We'd have one model. It would be carefully designed. We'd be gluing things together very meticulously and carefully. Or we could have built the Concorde out of Lego as well. It looks great. It doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it does the job. And if you don't like it, you can take apart all of those modules that you've built, those little MCP services, those little sub-agents, reassemble them a different way, a lot more flexibly. What you're getting is flexibility in your approach.
Yeah.
Whereas before we used to have to design and design and design and build and test and test. We're still testing, but we're building with different building blocks.
Yeah. One of the questions is about control, isn't there? Like, so as an airline, it's my product. So I spend lots of money putting aircraft in the air. There's huge amounts of risk involved in that, and not exactly so not huge amounts of profit in it. To be fair,
Exactly. It's a cost.
So I'm fighting for every
It's a
profit.
cost center.
Does this world give an airline more ability to retain some of the value it creates in this ecosystem? And if that's the case, does it make it more likely that it will work with third parties because of that?
Well, one of the topics we aired today, and I tried to frame for the audience, was we think of agentic just as I described there before, a way of bringing together systems.
Yeah.
Last November, on the back of what Anthropic built for Claude Code, somebody took those Claude Code tools and made it possible to remote control my Mac. And with my Mac, they could have used the browser to search an airline website to build things as well. So now all of a sudden, it wasn't just startups using agents to build brand new systems never before seen. I could just do that myself.
Yeah.
So we've democratized that capability. You can use your Claude desktop to do the same thing now. You've got OpenClaw there too. These things will now be the front end of the internet for some users. They'll choose to get their airfare through Claude.
Yeah. So does it, when we talk about control then, does it in fact bring more control to the consumer so that the consumer is driving this? There's a feeling that this stuff's coming quickly because the consumers really want it to happen.
And that's the question you were getting at. The real impact is that we may not get to decide how that agentic traffic comes through. Some will come through the startups, some will come through the big tech cos, some will be great ways to integrate, but some will come through consumers directly. I don't know how much yet. Let's measure that properly. But some of it will be agentic. The question is then, what do we do? We can set up a paywall. Some companies have chosen to do so, set up a paywall around our systems and say, anything coming through here on agentic, Rails, whatever that looks like, has to pay a toll. And it could be a source of revenue. And it might kill your business. So it's one of those things to put into your marketing mix. Think of it as a new channel. Is this a channel that we want to develop? And if we do, what does that look like? We're at the start of something big and exciting where we're not fully in control of it. And we have to decide, do we go the monetization route? Do we go the paywall route? Do we block it completely? Like we used to block screen scrapers, but now we've got a screen scraper on every iPhone.
Yeah.
What do we do in that situation? And that becomes a really exciting frontier for us to be at, where we're going to define this one together. And it may not be possible to block it, but I'm really interested and really excited by what it means.
Yeah.
The one stat to call out there, I suppose, is the little warning that Philip Philippoff from OAG shared. He talks about the 1,000 to 1 look to book ratio that we had.
Yeah.
It could go as high as 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll go that high myself.
Yeah.
We're taking traffic that used to be direct, that used to go through the corporate booking tools, that used to go through Ryanair.com natively. That's now going to go through one for an agent instead. But we'll also get some new category products that'll send that traffic quite high. It mightn't get to 1,000,000, but it'll be on that direction.
And actually, you made the point around that, is that in the future, you expect all corporates to be reporting their carbon footprint based around their use of AI.
I think so.
And how that relates to the carbon footprint of an airline, putting an aircraft in the air. Well, I mean, it doesn't even relate, does it?
No, it doesn't. When you think about it, we take it very seriously in aviation. We take it very seriously in all the space around aviation. Our carbon footprint is a figure that we think about, we obsess about. Willie Walsh talks about SAF all the time. So we have to think about our future carbon-wise when everything we do.
Yeah.
We've seen a rush. New York Times did a great piece on what's happening throughout the industry and the rush towards AI adoption. There are leaderboards of who's using the most tokens. The currency of AI within these organizations, when if I'm burning through a whole load of Claude Opus tokens to get my job done, I'm doing these experiments over here, I'm trying this new agentic framework there. Claude desktops can run thousands of dollars a month if I just leave OpenClaw burning them. You have to be careful. And in the future, we'll see, I think, earnings reports at least in the tech companies, if not in travel as well, report on how many tokens they're using, how they're getting great deals on these tokens from the AI vendors. I can see that happening. I can also see us thinking about the optimization of it as well, because the carbon footprint on the GPU use, it's going to be high. We have to take care and we have to optimize as well.
You're a big enthusiast for this sort of thing. You can tell by the way you talk about it. Some of the biggest words of caution is you get from technologists themselves going, be careful. And actually, a lot of people say, a lot of what we talk about, and we call it AI, isn't really AI yet. It's just clever tech. And it's just one step more ahead of the past.
No, I'd be along the same lines.
You are obviously an enthusiast. But also, what's your word of caution about companies sort of diving into this without too much thought or too much strategy?
The one thing we should do is to experiment carefully. We don't have to go all in, but we should experiment. We should know what's there. We should educate ourselves. There are new workflows around working with AI that we haven't discovered yet. We'll see them in the future, or we can be the ones to invent them. I don't know what it would be like if we could take corporate booking tools and expense tools and airline booking tools and bring them all together in different ways that are equitable, ways that make sense. And we can invent that together in forums like this one here today. Or we can wait for somebody outside the business to hose it on us. I don't know what that looks like. So we can invent it, we can try it, we can be careful. We don't have to rush into something straight away, but we can try something and experiment. But we have to remember that, and we see it with, I showed the example of UVI, which we have a lot of computer vision used by Hertz to streamline what is probably a great pain point for them. That's computer vision, that's just one model. Large language models are just another, and there are thousands of models. And we're actually quite far ahead when it comes to real deep tech in travel. Airline fare optimization is one thing, but we don't talk about IROPS. What are the IOCCs doing around weather? That's been at the forefront of machine learning and big data forever. So we talk about the models around LLMs. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot to get excited about. There's a lot to pay attention to. But let's not forget what we're good at already in travel and not shift investment too far from what we're good at and what needs that investment today.
There's always a lot of focus on that consumer element, how consumers are going to use it and so on. But I think as you pointed out on your slides, there's a lot of AI use in the back office, but not very much focus on that. It's not, maybe it's not the sexy side of AI, but actually the amount of data an airline will generate just in operating aircraft is huge. Applications for AI just to get that, so to help those airlines operate more efficiently. Is there too little focus on that, do you think? And maybe airlines would be best off?
No, I love, it's a great quotation from Gillett Bernstein. If you're in travel as long as we are, you're a lot longer than me, but when you're in travel long enough, you do the coffees with up and coming startups, people that need some mentorship, you hear the pitches. And there's a moment when you get the one about trip planning. And you go, look, you're focusing on a real problem for you, but the space is vast, it's so big. And Gillett Bernstein, in one of his, prior to one of his talks for Skift, put out a great stat where he's been talking to a lot of hoteliers about what they were hearing from startups, and they're all talking about the front of house, the stuff that they see, the stuff that they're interacting with. And none of them are talking about the problems they're facing in the laundry room, because that's never where they've been. And we forget about what's happening behind the scenes. We're all seeing the front of house. We're all seeing what's in front of the stage. We're not seeing what's going on backstage. We don't see the IOC. We don't see revenue management. We don't see aircraft optimization. And to quote Willie Walsh again, we don't think of safety and what AI can bring.
It's tip of the iceberg stuff, isn't it?
There's so much there that needs some great talent.
I think like you said, was it Yahoo have a trip planning tool just to recruit coders.
That's right.
So, because it's interesting for them.
A quote from Gary Tan, I didn't hear it, but Gary Tan from President of Y Combinator talks about this. He said that it sounded like they were using it just for recruitment. They left up this trip planner on Yahoo. It made no money. It seemed at least that it was there to recruit designers and engineers, and they'd be brought in and then quickly moved on to where their talents were needed. But it felt very, very strange that we focus on what's visible, and we don't see what's behind the scenes that needs our energy. So all of these systems on an agentic basis will be there for consumers. Consumers will recruit their own agents. They'll run them on their own desktops. I don't know how big that will go. But what's clear is that we could use some of those agentic workflows behind the scenes to optimize the world of Excel that is still running the travel business, to work with new partners in new ways that could optimize costs. So we have a 1,000,000 to 1 potential look to book ratio from agents, but what would that mean from cost optimization? And I think that's where the real excitement could be.
Yeah. Finally, you ended with 3 takeaways. Boil it down to the main takeaway. The audience just left that room today. What are they taking away from what you said earlier?
The one thing I left on the table was that we're not going to be fully in control of this. We talked about that.
Yeah.
I think of it as the new web browser. There'll be a web browser that we don't see that the agents use. And look, it's going to use the same technology that we use today, but it's going to be the less visible one.
Yeah.
Our brand won't be the same. Our brand messaging will be delivered a different way. So that non-visible part of our brand has to be something that we think about. What does our brand look like, our messaging look like when it's fed through? And they might be interactive tools like Mark Lenihan was talking about, but it's fed through these new interfaces. I want an aggregate view, different type of discovery, different type of booking. I'm giving you my credit card number, go nuts, go within these rails, I'm fine. But what does that look like then from a consumer perspective when it's working for me and it's coming up with my airline's brand? How do I know I'm getting the right thing? All of those trust elements still need to be worked out. There's a long way to go. And the last one, of course, was integrations would be easier, but we talked about that already.
Yeah. Is it effectively like we're at the beginning of the internet again, except it'll come much quicker than the internet did?
I'd love to be able to draw those patterns, and a lot of people have said that before me. But I love the excitement. I love the buzz, and we've seen that in our lifetimes. We've seen the dawn of the internet. We've seen the dawn of mobile and social. We've seen some great tech come out of the web. And it's true that it's exciting. And it's the worst now, as it's going to be forever. So it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about where it's going to go. But we don't have to define it all today. We just have to experiment carefully.
Yeah.
Take baby steps.
Look, there's plenty of buzz going on. Coffee behind us, probably about your session. So
Hopefully.
Yeah, you never know. So thanks, Kevin, for kicking us off. And we'll see how it goes. And maybe next year we'll put some of your predictions
which
to
of
test.
those predictions
Yes, exactly.
worked out. Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
a lot. Cheers.
Take care.
Okay, so in this special edition of ABN Cast, I've now been joined by Anne Cedarhall, who is the owner of a company called LeapShift. LeapShift is
Correct.
You consult, so you advise,
Yeah.
tell me what you do. You advise airlines and others on payments, strategy, etc.
Not so much payments,
Yeah.
but distribution, strategy, lots on e-commerce, and especially if they need help on, let's say, NDC, one order, offer and order management.
Okay, so it's a broader distribution strategy.
Very broad.
So you did a survey for this event this week here in Dublin,
I did.
which we've covered in our special supplement. Very broad, very quickly. Give us a brief overview of what the survey found. You asked 200 people for their views
Yes.
on distribution and payments in airlines. And what was the main findings? What did you find interesting?
Well, there was lots of stuff that is actually, very interesting,
Yes,
as you know. We did the survey back in 2023. So, of course, it was particularly interesting to me. To see what has changed, or rather, what has not changed when you compare 23 to 26. So the most shocking finding was that 70%, which is close to 70%, which is almost the same as back in 23, has not moved and, doing any type of orchestration.
Okay.
And to me, orchestration is a must if you go into retail.
Okay.
Right.
Just explain what orchestration is. I mean, for those who don't know, it's a layer of technology. Because payments is becoming very complicated. You almost need another layer of technology to organize your payments, don't you?
Orchestration also, that would be if you have a payment hub, that's also part of the orchestration. You need to, you need to orchestrate, and I typically refer to this as order management systems. And every company, like let's say Amazon, has an order management system to bring all the different content together and to do the follow-up on that content, etc. And sadly, this is not very, all that common in airlines. No.
And why is that, you think? And what that being the case, what are airlines failing? What are they losing on the table if they're not orchestrating properly?
Because they sort of are very much keeping both the mindset and also the actual technology of the PSS, of the passenger service system,
which is the legacy system.
Yeah, the legacy systems, and they've literally built everything around these systems. And for instance, in a PSS system, right, your P&R that you then work with, that is typically purged. So it just goes away once you're flown, for example. If you orchestrate and you work in order management, the order never dies, right?
Yep.
So you get a complete different picture when it comes to targeted retailing to,
So it opens and enables this more personalized approach, knowing the customer better, etc.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the foundation, I would say, for personalization.
Yeah.
It does many things.
You also gauged people's sort of opinion on their own company's approach to modern retailing, I think we call it broadly.
Yeah.
And what did you find there? You found not huge advances really in some respects.
No, not really. It was pretty sad. I mean, we had 213 people responding to the survey.
Yeah.
And there's always, there are people out there who used to work for an airline for a long time and they're now with, let's say a consulting company or whatever. So it is a bit of a gray area there. So 111 of them were airlines. And their opinion of their own capabilities were much better in 23 than they are in 26, which is a bit depressing.
It's a bit worrying.
So yes, it's a bit worrying.
And again, why do you think that is? Is it?
Yeah, I think that I think all those medium-sized and smaller airlines find it very, the profit margins or the sort of the tiny profit margins here, and I think there is there's sort of there's all this worrying about, what is this new technology going to mean? What, should I be looking at order management systems? Should I build in-house tech, which is very expensive?
Yeah.
I mean, there are airlines that do that, but you need to be a big guy to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of many factors. And there is this and right now I think it's a lot, is AI going to fix everything? Of course it's not. No.
But it's here. And
It's
actually
here.
yesterday's event, we still kicked off with a couple of presentations, Kevin O'Shaughnessy and Mark Lenehan, on just a broad overview on where we are with AI and agentic. I mean, it's coming and it's coming quickly. And that's what definitely we reflect that in our
and it's going to help us tremendously.
Yeah.
But it's not going to, if you don't, for instance, orchestrate, there's, AI is not going to help you because if you haven't got anything to orchestrate and sell, what are you going to do with AI, right?
Yeah. So, it's not a magic bullet, is it?
No, it's not.
So the lack of orchestration is worrying because we're moving into a new era.
Yeah,
and if you're not orchestrating the old era, how are you going to organize what's coming up?
And there's so much modernization that we need to do as well with these old legacy systems. I typically bring up something like messaging.
Yeah.
We're using messaging that is 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
Right? We're using teletype messaging between systems. It's not only horrendously expensive, it is totally antiquated. And why don't we start right there and try to modernize it and bring the cost down? I mean, we should be looking at things and saying, how can we bring the cost down? Because technology just becomes cheaper and cheaper, and not in airline distribution. It just, gets more expensive and more expensive.
Yeah.
So this is worrying to me. Yeah.
I mean, as you said, airlines' profit margins are famously fairly thin, so they don't have the money to invest, do they? So that's maybe one of the things. They just worried about investing in something that's not going to turn out to work or be the future, and then it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a fear factor there, isn't
Well, it's the risk aversion,
Yeah.
Exactly, it is the risk aversion, because, I mean, airlines are sort of, they are, and they should be very concerned with operational safety, of course, and they should, risk should be very important to them. But really, they should go out there and look at different vendors, and they should actually look at how do I want to improve my customer experience? What is it that I want to do? Is a shopping basket that is dynamic, being able to offer. We saw what customers want actually at this conference, right?
Yeah.
Maybe take a look at that and see what can I do? What baby steps can I do? And there is technology out there that is not particularly very expensive.
Yeah. I think the fear is that somebody's going to come along already here. One of the big LLMs or one of the Claudes of this world and so on, and they're going to create something that the industry then has to react to and not be in the forefront of guiding what the future is. So you become a rule taker rather than a rule maker in this area, and that's a real fear. But it's maybe too late because it's happening now, isn't it?
It is happening now, but of course, I have great hope because I think that we need because we have duopolies and we have monopolies, right? I really hope that we will see more competition. We will see opportunities to, people famously in this industry, they say, oh, migrating PSS, oh, that's the most scary thing that you can possibly ever do. It's like brain surgery times 1 million and all that. And it's not. I've actually migrated PSS in less than 3 months.
Okay.
It's doable. Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping for now, that with all this technology, that we can finally improve this stuff. And get rid of some of the complexity and take that out of the equation.
Yeah. So we're sort of partway through second day. We've got afternoon of sessions. What else have you taken from this, being here at this event this year then?
I thought, yesterday was great. And the enshittification, right? Was
yes. That's a new word on. It's a new
yes.
I believe there's a book to be read out there.
Yeah, there is a book. Yes, yeah. And that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And Mark Lenehan, did a great presentation. I thought very interesting today. All of it has been very interesting in the ancillary track. And especially, I would say, Anastasia and her findings.
I was in that track, so you've seen that one.
Yeah.
So you've been in the ancillaries one, have you?
Yes, very interesting findings on exactly that gap. What are the consumers looking for, and what do the loyalty or the C people at the airline think that consumers want?
Yeah,
that gap is wide, very wide.
What is, I guess, you look around and what's going on with certain airlines and you see some leaders in this. So when I think about ancillaries, I quite often think about EasyJet. I've come from the UK.
Yeah.
So they're very much on our radar, but they've become very much less and less an airline now. They call themselves they're a holiday company, aren't they? And they don't want to refer themselves to an airline because they're taking people on the whole journey. So they're a real leader in this, aren't they? And in talk about
they're
adding,
very good,
adding new revenue streams, that's what they're doing with that by providing the entire end-to-end holiday.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the holiday business is very profitable. And, they do have, like you say, a marketplace I wouldn't say, I still think they have a way to go when it comes to orchestration.
Yeah.
I would like to see stuff with EasyJet that I think is very simple to fulfill. For what's the customer, again, what is the customer looking for, right?
Yeah.
And so I think they can really, there's stuff that they can do to improve the customer experience, definitely. There are definitely leaders out there, yes. LATAM is an airline I admire a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
One to look out for as well.
They do a good job. Yeah.
Look, and in fact, thanks for joining us. Good to see you face to face at the event.
Good to see you, and thank you so much.
Home.
And thank you for the article.
No
it was
problems.
Absolutely phenomenal.
No, that's great.
Thank you
very much. Cheers.
Thank you.